Hey you guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel and another video. In this video, I'm sharing with you a conversation I had with my girl, Andrea Renee. She is a blogger, a YouTuber, and now a published author. I'm so excited for her. In this conversation, we talk about her new book and we share little nuggets of different things her and I have been through. And I think this is a conversation you guys will really enjoy. I'm gonna leave all her information below. Go check out her blog, subscribe to her YouTube channel, and make sure you tell her I sent you. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Love you guys. Drea, how are you?
I'm good.
Much for joining me.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited just to have this conversation with you. It's interesting. Well, first, before we get into the meat of stuff, let me tell everybody how we know one another. Why don't you introduce yourself first?
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Andrea Renee. That is my author name, so that is the name that I'm going by.
Can we pause real quick?
Yeah.
You said author. You a whole
Yeah.
author in these streets. I'm so excited and proud of you. I know we're going to get to the meat of that, but I'm just so excited for you about that. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. So Andrea Renee, you can find that on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. I also have a blog, and my YouTube channel goes by Drea Uplifts, and that's on Instagram too. So if you type in Andrea Renee or Drea Uplifts, you will find me.
So we know each other because we went to high school together, right? And
You were the big senior, and I was the little junior. Or whatever.
You actually graduated with my sister.
I did.
The last few years, we've definitely connected more, thank God, through social media.
Yep.
And so I'm so grateful, just one, that you said yes to just talking with me, because I definitely know that you are someone I not just look up to and admire, but what you do social media wise is what I know you do privately. And that's really big, because I feel like not a lot of people can say that, and are doing that. So I definitely appreciate you just taking the time just to be with me today.
Thank you.
So first, I have an icebreaker question before we get
started.
So, would you rather have every light that you approach be green, or would you rather never have to wait in line ever again?
I'm gonna go with the line.
Right? I had to think about it because I don't do well with traffic. Or we out here in the long lights, we just sit in red forever.
You know what? I kind of usually I jam out in my car, so I like long lights because it gives me more time to listen to my music or whatever I'm listening to. If it's a podcast or whatever, it gives me a little more time to listen. So I don't mind red lights, but lines, like if I'm at Disney World, if I'm at the grocery store, if I'm, at these places that usually have long lines, and I could just go straight. Target, I could just go straight out.
I don't know why. It haven't been years. I thought of Cedar Point.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why my mind went there. I haven't been there in so long, but yeah,
I haven't either.
I think lines would be the same for me. So, I want to first put out there why I wanted to have this conversation with you, or really I should say why I put you on my heart. I remember when you were doing your Instagram, Facebook Live about your launch, and you were talking about your business and your book, and you were saying a lot of the same things that we share as to why we're doing what we're doing. I know we're both passionate about helping people, especially women. And
right.
saying to me, where I guess I consider like my trigger words, like for me, hardship and helping people through like difficult seasons, right, is really, really big for me. And a lot of times I think we can be surrounded with people and have friends, but people will go through their different seasons of whatever and not realize the sis next to them or their friend next to them or the friend, that they may know have walked through that season, but because we don't talk about it, because we don't address it, publicly, no one knows. And so that's one of the reasons I know I personally I have to talk to her about this, because you, like we said, you're a whole author now. You done wrote a book, and I think writing a book is so, so powerful. One, because I kind of address this on my Instagram. Sharing stories is really big for me, or
Mm-hmm.
just creating a community where women can share their stories is really a passion of mine, because
Mm-hmm.
I know we both have a desire to help, but you can't help
Mm-hmm.
unless people know you've been through,
Right.
and I
Right.
think it's important that we're public, or have a space and a safe place to be public with our
Mm-hmm.
stories, for the benefit of someone else, so,
Right.
on social media, we have people doing these snapshots, and they're kind of
Mm-hmm.
sharing their life, but they're not always sharing their actual story. And even
Right.
if we tend to share our story, sometimes it's not as tangible as what you've done in writing a book. So
Mm-hmm.
why a book? Like, I know, during your live, I want to say you said that you weren't sure if you were going to be an author, or how did it get to I'm gonna write a book?
So I've been carrying the
Mm-hmm.
baby book for a long time. I did a little snippet the other day where I talked about writing has always been a passion of mine. So like even starting the blog, like it
Yeah,
just feels natural.
yeah.
Even in elementary school, I don't know if you remember Einstein. That's where I
Yeah.
went. Did you go to Einstein too?
I did not go to outside. I was still in Detroit school at the time.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So I was riding the bus
Mhm.
and I, bouncing around on the bus as a kid, and I felt unsafe. I was like, no. I told my mom and dad, like, we need to do something about this. So I wrote the superintendent, and he read my letter. Like, he came to the school and read my letter. So that kind of triggered something in me, like, oh, okay, there's power in writing. There's a connection in writing. Even an aunt of mine, she had lost her husband, and I
Mhm.
had to be like 9 or 10. And I feel like my mom could sense that I wanted to do something to help, but I didn't know what to do. So
Yeah.
my mom was like, write her a letter, send her a card, send her a message. And I'm like, okay. And even though my great aunt lived out of town, it was
Mhm.
like I felt connected to her.
Mhm.
I felt like I was helping her,
Yeah.
and just my little 9 or 10-year-old self saying, I'm sorry for your loss and I love you and all that. It felt natural. So from there, and I hate math.
You do? I'm over here
Yeah.
loving math.
Oh,
Oh my
man,
god!
math.
I guess that. Okay.
I'd rather write a 20-page paper than do one math problem. Thank you.
You serious?
Yeah, so that's how I knew too. Like it was just like a natural connection. So why a book? Or because like you were talking about hardships, there
Yeah.
have been many in my life. I know I'm not done living, so there's more coming and there's more to overcome.
Yeah.
But I was having a conversation with my mom, and I write about it in the book. And I was just like, I feel like I've had to go through like some hard things
Mhm.
that I haven't heard of other people
Yeah.
really going through or being public about it, like
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I feel like I didn't go through all of that just for myself.
Absolutely.
If what I went through can help pull somebody else through as they read,
Mhm.
then mission accomplished. That's really what the book is about, is just to be able to pull that heart, pull that soul where they're like, oh, dang, she made it too. Well, I can make it, just being able to share those experiences to let them know that they're not alone.
Right. And that's
Mm-hmm.
that's really, really huge. Again, you said another word that's huge for me, the not alone part. I remember even the reason why I wanted to do what I'm doing now is because in 2018 I literally had the roughest year. And granted, I've lost my mom, my best friend
Mm-hmm.
passed away 14 months later, but
Mm-hmm.
even that for me didn't compare to 2018. 2018 literally was the worst year of my life. It was just a season where something happened all the time, month after month. And I remember I got to the end of the year, towards the end of the year, and I was like, mind you, I have friends, I am in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, I'm married, and all these different things. And I still felt extremely alone. I had people who wanted to ear, who want to talk to me, who were open to, whatever I would want to talk about, but I still felt so alone because, like you just said, I felt like nobody going through, just nobody is going through this. Nobody has gone through this. I agree with you about what you said, that I definitely feel that I walked through certain seasons where nobody, like crickets, nobody exists, like, and even honestly, in times where I've been public, even to a certain degree, about the things I've been through on social media, the response I've gotten, like, oh yeah, I've done this, or I've walked through this, and I'm like, don't nobody know.
Never would have known.
And I get there is some need to be,
yes,
for people who want to be private, and I get there's not, I think some people, even maybe those who want to share their story, they wrestle with not having people in their business per se.
Yeah.
But that's the difference, I feel like, at least for me, and I think you share the same. It's not so much about having people in our business as much as I really want to help. Even yesterday, you know that I just lost my grandmother, and I was in my room having a moment, like I wasn't even really crying, and I really didn't know how to feel. I've been sad. I was heartbroken to hear she passed, but I remember I was sitting in my room, where I pray and spend time with God. And I was literally just sitting on the floor, saying nothing, just being quiet and trying to be still. Yeah. And even in that moment, I wanted to journal, because what you said earlier about, writing, I never thought I would be doing a blog. Like, I've been journaling for years, literally for years, but I never thought it would turn into a blog. And even when I was sitting in my room yesterday, just trying to have a quiet moment with God, he literally said, go get your computer and write. For a second I paused. I said, okay. Like, no, go get your computer and write. And it's in these moments where those nudges, where I know God is dealing with me, dealing with you, those are the moments we can help people, even when we're vulnerable, even in the spaces where we may not be okay. I'm learning that those are the places where we can help the most. And that's why I think it's important we share our stories, because a lot of times we hear like the beginning and we hear the end. We don't
not
walk
the middle.
And the middle is the most trying part, because you're not far, you're not where you started, and you definitely don't see the finish line, you just out there.
Right.
So what about the book was your favorite part to write? Or did you have or did you have a place where you felt like you pushed through despite how you felt?
I pushed the whole thing.
Okay, so even with that, when you knew you were to write the book, did you have any hesitation? And I'm asking this because I feel as though there may be someone who listens who feels like they should be writing a book, who feels like I have to tell my story. And they're on the fence about whether or not to write a book. They're maybe on the fence about, being public with their story, no matter how difficult, how messy, how ugly it is. At what point did you feel like, I'm gonna do this anyway, despite maybe any hesitation you may have had, or were you just adamant that you knew you would write the book and you just ran with
it? So no. There was major hesitation because I was experiencing a new one. That was very deep and traumatic at the time. And so I'm like, okay, along with everybody else, it was like I was already kind of going through my own pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, and then it was like more stuff, and I'm like, So honestly, I write about it in the book too, because I was carrying the baby, the book, and I knew that I wanted to write it. Actually, I can show you the cover. Like, this is just the proof copies, but the other copies are coming soon. But this cover, the young lady on the cover, we did that photo shoot like 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I've had those pictures. She's known about it. Like, I was going to write, but it just never really came out. And I actually finished the first book, but I had to scrap it. So I was actually in the shower. It's like my moments with God are like so unorthodox. It's always like a shower, a car,
mine is
a bedroom. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I guess I just have unorthodox moments. But I was in the shower and I'm crying like, oh God, I know I'm supposed to write a book, but the idea that I had before, I couldn't really use it at this space in my life. So I was like, God, what am I going to write about? Like, I know I need to. And with the pandemic, you know, I had got softly laid off from my job. I say softly because I'm still an employee, but I'm not currently working. So I had time, you know, so I'm like, okay, God, like this is the time for me to dig in. So I'm in the shower and God is like, you are still my favor. And I'm like, okay. So it clicked after I heard that. It clicked. One of the chapters in the first book that I wrote was called You Are Favor.
Oh wow.
So I was like, oh, that's what you're saying. So I'm like, okay, I'm still your favor. So just expound on that chapter. So basically I took that chapter of the first book and I just made more chapters and I applied it to my life, past experiences, and my life where I am right now. So it was like God literally downloaded that to me in the shower. And I'm like, oh, thank you, God. So then I was scrolling on social media, and a young lady that had went to my church, she posted, and she's already written like, I think 3 books. And she posted like, hey, does anybody want help writing a book? And I'm like, yeah. Wow. So I ended up inboxing her, and then we exchanged numbers and all that. And the rest is history. Like Tara coached the mess out of me through that process. Like every day texting me, how many words did you write? And I had to report back to her and all that. So I learned a lot in the process. She took me through it step by step. So now that I know, I wouldn't say it's so much easier, but it's a little easier because I know the process. So it's like now I can keep writing. I can write more books because I know the process now. But yeah, that's how the book came about. There was major hesitation, even though I knew I wanted to write it, because the topics in the book are very intimate. But it's like when I was going through these situations, I wish I would have had the book to read or the resource where I can say that this person, you know, I mean, that's what the Bible is, and we're living epistles.
Absolutely.
Like you can go back and read about Paul and all that and everything that he went through. You could be like, okay, Paul did it. Absolutely. I can do it, you know? So yeah, that's how it came about.
You mentioned I Am Favored. That's the title of your book. Why did you title it that? Do you feel like it was because of the first book you wrote? And you that? Why do you think you kind of titled it as that? Because I think the title is absolutely, not having read the book yet, I have my pre-order coming. But,
thank you, Stephanie.
The title makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we can get so lost in the things that we're going through that we're forgetting, hey, God still is choosing us, even in the midst of what we're going through. Like, change God's love towards us. That doesn't change how he sees us. Like the things that we go through, hard or not, that doesn't separate us from the love of God, right? So I think even just the title, it's a perfect reminder that don't forget, even in hardship, even in difficult seasons, that you still are God's daughter, you know, and that you still have a place with him. So is there a reason you specifically did that, or is it just because of the first book?
A little of both, but you summed it up perfectly. The whole gist of the book is that difficulties don't disqualify you from still carrying the favor of God as a woman of God, as his daughter. Just because you go through difficult seasons, that doesn't mean that the favor just disappeared. It's still there. You know, it might take a little more digging. It might take a little more dedication, prayer time, you know, a long time with God, but it's there. So You Are Favor again was one of the chapters in the first book. And I just felt like that's a perfect title because it sums up everything in the book. That, like I said, you're still the favor of God no matter what. And even I feel like and I wrote about this too, if young women are taught that they do carry the favor of God from a little girl, I feel like we would carry ourselves so much better and with so much more confidence, you know, in the fact that we are God's daughters. And so I touch on that. And then I also touch on, it doesn't matter what your relationship status is. I mean, you could be single, you can be married, you could be divorced, you could be separated, you could be widowed, or, you know, it doesn't matter. You carry the favor. It's when you are joined with a man, he gets favor just because of you. Just because of you. So, So you have to have that favor before you become joined with him, you know.
It's so powerful that you even said that we have this, no matter what our relationship status is, no matter what jobs we have, like we're God's favor first.
Yes.
Or anything else, you know. So can you give us a little teaser of something in the book, or maybe let me say it this way. What is in the book, or can you share with us something that's in the book without totally giving, you know, anything away, that maybe would surprise somebody? Something that you address, something that you've been through, that once they read it, they may be like, what?
I wouldn't say there are surprises, but it may be. I mean, for people who don't know me, for new followers or, you know, new people that are attracted to the book title and different things like that, then there will be some surprises, like, but I feel like I've been pretty open with the majority of the topics. I just go into way more detail than I would if I was just verbally, you know, saying something on the internet. But I could give you a little teaser though.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So this chapter is called You Are Not Damaged Goods. I am not damaged goods. Sis, you are not damaged goods. It does not matter what you have been through. Trials don't disqualify you. Trials qualify you to compassionately help someone else. The enemy wants you to shrink back in embarrassment. God wants you to rise in his strength. Once you are made whole, there will not be one thing that a person can do or say to cause you to believe that God does not love you deeply, intentionally, and beyond comprehension. That's just a piece from You Are Not Damaged Goods.
Wow. If that's a small snippet of what's in the book.
Yeah, that's a very small snippet.
You know, it even makes me think about what you just said, made me think about just different things I've been through and how we can go through so many different things. And so, like, well, what am I doing? You know, is even my life worth, not even so much just living, but worth pursuing the things I want to do or pursuing the things of God. You know, we can get so lost if we're not careful. We can get so lost in what we're going through and get so suffocated by that we aren't actively in pursuit of God, you know, really.
Right.
You know, I can think about different things I've been through. And even when I was talking about in 2018, I felt so alone that even my perspective of God had changed. And in that season, I was wrestling with disappointment, anger, bitterness, all of it. And I remember even talking to my pastor at one point, and I was just honest with him. I said, you know, all of what I was going through had became so heavy and so rooted in my heart that it literally changed how I saw God. And I knew that was the problem, you know, because we have to be careful, even with the things that we go through, that we don't allow them to change our perspective of how we see God and how we know, and the truth we know about him.
Yes.
And I think it's so important that stories like yours and other women, we take the time to share them for the sake, not just of helping someone else, but to be a testimony.
Yes.
It's really powerful, I think, or maybe sometimes we just don't even realize how powerful it is when we share our testimonies and we share the witness that we can be for God, because sometimes we you can hear different stories and all these different things. Even this year, if we're honest, like so many things have been said, so many things are going on. It seems like around we're hearing bad news, something happened to another, person, and it's so easy to be influenced and distracted by what's going on and forget there's a whole agenda that God still has, and there's a whole purpose that he still has, and we need to be talking about that. It's not that other things aren't important to talk about, and it's not that other things aren't relevant, but God still has a whole agenda. His kingdom, his purposes still matter. And that's why I love so much that you took the time to write despite what was going on, despite how ugly whatever it is that has been going on for like those things. I feel like are the places God really uses for his word,
he does. He uses pain a lot. A whole lot.
Listen, 2018, I'm gonna talk about this on my blog after release, but hard seasons, pain, difficulty, they literally, I was just telling someone else the other day, they have been my greatest teacher. The Bible, first of all, I don't know what I would do without the Bible, like just God. Like I don't see how people live without, I can't.
Right.
Either if I stay there too long, I'm going to cry. But like just the thought of where would we be without God? I can't even imagine. But regarding your book, this is my last questions. What is the message you feel like you would have for the book? What's the ultimate takeaway you want somebody to have after they read it, as they read it?
I want them to realize how special they are to God. We're always, you were talking about our perspective changing about God. We're human. So we're not always 100% on. And there have been plenty of times in my life, I will tell on myself, where I have not been 100% on.
Absolutely.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Because God provides grace, he provides mercy, he provides his word where we can, get back to where we need to get to. He provides repentance, all of that, forgiveness. It's a whole package deal for you.
Yeah.
So I just want the woman, whoever reads this, to know that you are special to God, that he watches over you closely.
Yeah.
Like he knows you inside and out. If you have anything that you need to say, and you feel like people aren't listening to you, or you feel like you're not being heard, God hears you. I promise it. I'm about to cry. I promise you he does.
Yeah.
Because there have been times where I've been up, all night or whatever, and not knowing where the money's coming from, or not knowing what I'm going to do next, not knowing my next moves. But it's like God he always sends comfort. He always sends peace. If we're really seeking after him, he does not leave us hanging ever. Yeah. So what I want the reader to know is that you are loved, you are seen, and you are not forgotten.
Yeah.
That's really the gist. Yeah.
You said something, the peace of God is a real thing.
Girl.
Let me tell you. It's a real thing.
It's so real.
And it's interesting because even in just my quiet time lately, I remember how the Bible talks about how, when you're in this secret place, that's where you find God. And I was just journaling, having a quiet time, and he was sharing how in this season, when you get to that secret place, it's not going to be a challenge to feel God's presence. Sometimes there's that tearing you have to do to stay close to God. That tearing becomes easier. There's always, sometimes there's warfare there and things like that, but I'm learning more and more just to stay close.
Yes.
Peace is, even in regards to just you writing the book, I'm so appreciative that you put this out there, because one of the things I think it's important, even as we're walking through difficult season, it's just being honest about where you are. I remember in 2018,
honesty is where it's at.
I mean, can we talk about it? Because I remember in that year, that was the year that I learned to be really honest. I remember one of my best friends, when my mom passed away, and I was having a difficult time. I almost felt bad in a way for being honest, because I knew my heart and my thoughts just went. And I was like, God, ain't nothing pretty right now about how I'm feeling, about what I'm thinking. And she really encouraged me, be honest. Like, it's okay to be honest. And I don't know why at the time I thought me being honest would appall God. Like, I don't, like, he knows what we're thinking. Like you said, he knows, we've literally been created in the fabric, in the likeness of who he is. So in 2018, though, I remember I got to a place where I was realer than real, raw with God. And when I tell you, the doors flew open to freedom and even a greater and heightened relationship with him, I didn't look back. So I think that's why I'm really passionate, and I know you share the same passion about being truthful and being public with stories, because I've been through things that would surprise people, even just in the realm of not just my personal life, but even when I was younger, in the means of my marriage. And I've learned to just be honest about God, or with God, about where I am. And
he already know anyway.
He knows it, like, right? He already know, but it's something that he's had to teach me when I confess it and when I'm public with it. That's when freedom and really the work can really begin. Because it's one thing for us to keep things to ourselves and act like we okay, like, really, like, God knows though, but when you confess it with your own mouth and you put it physically out there, like, God, I'm dealing with XYZ. I don't like how my heart is. I don't like how I'm thinking. I'm thinking about these things. My heart is not in the right place. It's hardened towards this person. It's hardened towards these things, and giving God the space to say, okay, now that you've acknowledged it,
give him the space.
Give him the space. Now that you've acknowledged it, now that, like you've written the book, I can't imagine what's about to come on the other side of this book. The response, the healing, that I can't, just as your friend, I can't thank you enough for just being willing enough, because it's not easy. I remember even just preparing to do the things I'm doing with my channel and my blog. I remember, I was all over the place early on, just trying to get as much information as I could, learn as much as I could. I remember somebody said something that kind of stuck, because I still wrestle with being public, because putting yourself out there is not easy.
It's not.
Being honest about the things you've walked through and been through is not always easy, because you never know what response you're going to get, but I got to a place where, I don't really care in Jesus' name, because
you sound like, what was that guy that said that? I think it was Divine. They were talking about his wife, Megan Good. I was like, she's fine in Jesus' name.
But I got to a place where, even yesterday I made a post and I was saying how even though I'm hurting, I want to help. And that's my heart's desire. And I'm so, so grateful for the time to write this. I'm so excited for this book.
But when the book is released, it will be available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all of that. So, yes.
So what's the last thing do you want to leave with us? Maybe is it, encouragement, maybe encouraging somebody to go ahead and write the book. You said a lot about that too. Because honestly, you've encouraged me. I don't know, where my blog will take me. I just know that I just know I love writing. I guess, again, like just even our conversation has made me realize that even more. I love journaling. I love writing. Book or not, I just, I know we both have desire to help, but what would you want to say to maybe those for encouragement?
Keep going. Stuff will happen. And I'm so proud of you, Steph, even, you know, in the loss of your grandmother. That's tough.
Yeah.
I went through it twice. My book is actually dedicated to both of my grandmothers.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I understand the pain, you know, and I understand the being torn, like, okay, I just want to shut everything down right now and just concentrate on my loss, but life still is moving. So I'm proud of you for still, you know, pressing through. That's a part of what we're doing.
Yeah.
you gotta have the press in you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to say, keep going. Obstacles are going to present themselves, especially when you decide to do something out of the norm or out of the box, especially when you decide to do what God has called you to do and what he has chosen you to do. You are going to face obstacles, period. So I wouldn't say like be afraid of the obstacles or brace yourself for them, but I will say be prepared by worshiping, be prepared by being saturated in prayer and the word, so that when those things do come up, you like, hey, me and God, we got this. So I would say keep going. I would say do what you know God has called you to do. There is a time and a space and a season for everything. So it's like, even with this book, it was the time, the space, and the season, and I responded, and God just opened up the way for everything to come, you know, to fruition. So listen for his voice, listen for his leading. It might not always be an audible voice. It might be something someone says to you. It might be something you're watching on TV. It might be a movie. It might be a song. It might be you just opening your window in the morning and God just starts to, you know, pour into you. Just be open, have open ears.
Willing to be obedient. I think that's one of
the
things, you know, things get crazy when you're obedient and you say yes, and you just trickle right up outside that comfort zone. That yes can cause some stuff to occur. You like, all I said was yes. Wait, God. Is this what we signed up for real? Is that
for real? This is what this yes?
Does yes mean?
It's like, you don't know what the yes contains, but just, you know, say it with your heart. Don't just say it to say it, because it is you're going to face some stuff. So make sure that your heart is in it. Make sure that, you know, you're dedicated and you're committed to what God has called you to do. I have honestly struggled with the dedication, commitment, consistency piece, just to be honest. And so God now is like, hey, Drea, like, you out there now, so you have to stay consistent, you know, consistent in the message, consistent in how I speak, consistent in how I write, consistent. And when I meet people, they need to meet the same person that they see online. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really strive for that, because it really grinds my gears when you meet somebody from online and you be like, sis, why you mean, sis?
Hey, I feel you.
So just be consistent and just walk your path. Your path is not going to look like anybody else's in this entire world. Nobody else's. So walk your path.
This has been so good. I thank you so much for this. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get your book. One last time, where can they find you again on social media?
So Facebook, you can type in Andrea Renee. Instagram, Drea Uplifts. YouTube, Drea Uplifts. My blog, DreaUplifts.com. And my website is authorandrearenee.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm so proud of the Girl Cave Society.
Listen. I'm sure we'll do more things in the future too. So
yes,
I love you so much. Thank you.
I love you too. Thank you.